Landlords in the city of Omaha successfully fought back against the city inspection program, but the city is still trying to implement that program. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. Alright, so I have an interesting article for you today, and for once it's actually coming from my hometown, Omaha, Nebraska. Now, this is not only the place where I live, but I also invest here. I have 4 single-family home rentals here, and I actually have to comply with the rules that they passed in the city. So a few years back, what they tried to do was implement this new inspection program for rental properties. And as pretty much all rules occur, it happened after one bad actor had a pretty, he had his building was in pretty bad shape, and the city had to come in and basically shut him down. Okay, so rather than just punishing that one guy who wasn't doing everything the way he should be doing, the city decided, oh well, every landlord in Omaha now needs to comply with this inspection program, pay all these inspection fees, etc., etc., etc. And you know what? That's garbage. That's why I fight against these programs. This is why I talk about these programs happening all over the country, okay? Now, Nebraska is not known to be an anti-landlord place. It's actually known to be pretty landlord-friendly here. So when you see laws like this passed, what it tells you is that, hey, some of this stuff, it's coming in from these other more progressive, more liberal, more left-leaning places where they don't care about property rights. It's slowly seeping its way into the more landlord-friendly places, and that's why we have to fight back against it. So the Metropolitan Omaha Property Owners Association, that's exactly what they did. They sued, and they got a partial victory out of it, okay? And I'm going to explain more about exactly what they got as I go through this article. So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below, and let me know what you think, okay? What do you think of landlords actually winning lawsuits, and getting some of these rules overturned, okay? Has it happened in a city where you invest? Hopefully it has, I think that we have a fighting chance, but we just have to, put up a fight. That's it. I don't directly fight, like I don't go and directly fight against stuff, but what I do is I donate it to the legal fund for the Metropolitan Omaha Property Owners Association, and I'm a member. So that is what is helping to fight these cases here, and that's very important. I think all landlords should do something similar. So this article is coming from fox42.com, and it says, property owners want to work with city regarding home inspections. Yeah, I'm going to go over the entire home inspection program. Okay, so let's get into it. Jeff Roethlisberger is a landlord in Omaha. 2 months ago, he received a notice from the city saying it was coming in to inspect one of his units. Roethlisberger sent an email to the planning department saying he was refusing access. The city replied that it would not show up if it received a notice of refusal from the tenant. I don't like it, Roethlisberger said. I don't have anything to hide, but I do see it all as encroachment on my property rights. He's not the only one. The Metropolitan Omaha Property Owners Association, or MOPOA, said it's received a couple dozen calls from landlords regarding this. So yeah, they put this inspection program in place and a rental registration program in place back in 2019. Now, I complied with the law. All of my properties are registered with the city, right? And I haven't been called yet for an inspection, but I intend on doing the exact same thing, which is denying them the right to go into my property for this inspection and telling my tenants, hey, you don't have to let these people in. You don't, okay? If you don't want to let them in, you don't have to. And that's just the thing, without a search warrant, they can't come in and search your property. That's part of the lawsuit that they won. A lot of it's confusion. They don't know what to do, whether they're required to let the inspector in, whether they can refuse it. What do they do if they want to refuse it? President Rick McDonald said. So there is a lot of people that haven't even heard of this registration inspection program. The program is actually an ordinance the city passed 3 years ago. And before I go any further, I'm going to bring up what Rick McDonald said right there. A lot of people haven't even heard of this, okay? So when you're talking to the average small mom and pop landlord who owns 1 or 2 properties, they might not know all of the rules that they have to comply by, to be in compliance with the city. Okay? That's the problem when they add rules or they change rules so often that it is hard to keep track of them, especially for small mom and pop landlords. That's why I don't like all of these different rules and regulations that make it so complicated to just do something that should be relatively simple, which is renting out your property, okay? Under it, properties are subject to regular inspections every 10 years. Landlords who don't register with the city face more frequent inspections. It was proposed after more than 500 refugees were relocated from the Yale Park apartment complex. The city said it had found major housing code violations like rusted out water heaters and flues that were not attached appropriately and emitting carbon monoxide. Some units had open holes in their ceiling and where water had leaked from the roof into the building. Chief Housing Inspector Scott Lane said the owner at the time of Yale Park cut holes in the ceiling, attempting to make repairs to the roof and then leaving those ceilings wide open. So before any of this, before the registration and inspection program was created, they already had a means to address these issues, right? The tenants, all they would have had to do is report the property to the city inspectors if they felt it wasn't safe. Sorry, a little problem there. But all they would have had to do is report the property to the city inspectors if they felt it wasn't safe. And if they did that, then the city could try to go to that landlord and get that property back into compliance. But rather than doing, just going through the appropriate means, they say, well, these tenants, they were too scared and they were too dumb to figure out this on their own. So therefore, we're going to punish every landlord. Now, this isn't the worst inspection process I've heard of. Once every 10 years, supposedly. That's not the worst I've ever heard of. I mean, some cities are inspecting every year. Some expect you to, inspections every time you do any tenant turnover. So it's not the worst inspection program I've heard of. But, the issue is that if there aren't any problems, like if the tenant is happy in their unit and everything is well maintained and well kept and they're not calling the city reporting an issue, then why is the city coming in and inspecting? They're like, well, we're looking for unsafe conditions. Well, you could go to any house owner occupied and you could find a ton of houses that are owner occupied that aren't in compliance with city standards, but they don't do that. No, once again, they pick and choose the enforcement that they want to do, and they go after landlords. Now, landlords, like I said, 99% of them are doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing. They are following all the rules, all the laws. They're going to register. We're going to fight it, but we're going to register just like the city wants us to do. So when you put us through these ridiculous inspections and then you start nitpicking little stuff, well, the paint is peeling over here and oh my goodness, the screen door doesn't close exactly correct. And next thing you know, they've nitpicked you into thousands of dollars worth of repairs that, are not even necessary. Well, that's what a lot of inspection programs do, and that's what we're really fighting against. Not only that, but let's say you don't fix it in their time limit or whatever. Here they are, they're fining you hundreds or thousands of dollars for ridiculous stuff that, you might not even know was broken. A lot of tenants don't report everything that's broken, just because they just don't care or they don't want to let you know. And then when the inspector comes by, they're like, well, the landlord never fixed this running water here. Like, well, how the heck would I have known to fix it when you didn't tell me? You're the tenant. You live there. You should let me know when you need something repaired. And now I'm getting in trouble with the city and getting fined. That's ridiculous. Oh man, this whole issue, it makes me hot. So that's why I keep reading about it, and I just wanted to really share what goes on here in Omaha when it comes to this sort of thing. So I'm going to skip down just a little bit because they got a lot of this stuff in here. About the tenants are intimidated, the tenants are scared, etc. Right? That's ridiculous, right? So here we go. It says, either way, what used to be a complaint-driven system has now given way to regular inspections every 10 years under this new ordinance. Any landlord who refuses gets a $125 fine. McDonald said that's invasive. Granted, there should be inspectors and stuff, but I thought we had a right as citizens to a right of privacy, he said. If there's no complaint, there's no reason to go in. And I agree. Okay, no complaint, no reason to go in. And you know what is going to happen? They created this system, and the good landlords, we're all going to comply. The bad landlords, they're just going to be like, you know what, screw it. We're not complying. We're not going to fix things. We're not going to do any of this, right? We're not going to register. We're not going to, comply with their inspections. And then when they come in and then they ask to do an inspection, they'll just refuse and pay the $125, this little, fine that they have here. That's what the really bad actors are going to do. Meanwhile, the good players, such as myself, are going to be paying thousands of dollars for repairs to stay in compliance. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. So this fixes nothing. Okay? It fixes nothing. It was a feel-good measure to try to make people feel better after this one bad landlord had his property in disrepair. And as usual, the government is overreaching and punishing us all.